Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Intimate Talk series. I'm Asi Efros, and our special guest today is Farrugia Sharples, a CEO and founder of the luxury lingerie brand Coutille, which is based in the UK. Hi, Hannah. It's so nice to have you with us today.
Hi, Ozzy. It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So you had a fantastic career, and you worked for various, very different companies like La Perla, H&M. So can you tell us a little more about it, and what have you learned from your experience?
Yeah, of course. I went through, I guess, the traditional route of actually doing a degree in contour fashion. So that's lingerie, swimwear design. So I spent 3 years studying, and in between that I was kind of interning with a few brands, and I spent a summer with Iris van Herpen in Amsterdam. And I then went straight to work for H&M in a pasta maker role after I graduated, which was amazing and very much a kind of commercial experience. But I left actually to take up a design role, and I moved from there to La Perla in Bologna, which was incredible and very much a dream from a designer's point of view. They're just a very unique company in that they still have their factory literally underneath the design office, which you just don't find anywhere anymore. And you know, we worked in person with the pattern makers to build beautiful lingerie designs. And I went from there actually to take a job as lead designer for Coco de Mer in London. So that was very different in the sense that it's a kind of a smaller kind of niche lingerie, luxury lingerie brand, where I had much more kind of a position overseeing the scope of product development through to the finished article. So it's very much kind of like all over the place, and I learned a lot from a lot of people who have huge amounts of experience. And I wouldn't have been able to kind of go on then to start my own brand without that base knowledge, I don't think. But at the same time, it was always my dream from the beginning to have my own brand and to really kind of be able to put across my own design handwriting. So it's been quite a journey until now, and I'm still on it. So yeah,
it always is. And yeah, it's like every lingerie designer's dream, I guess, to start with fantastic brands and then use this experience. So what is Coutille about? What is can you tell us about philosophy of your brand?
Yeah, of course. So coming to start my own lingerie brand, I as much as I want it to be about creating beautiful pieces, I also could really see that in a world now where there are so many brands, I wanted to also offer something different. And from my perspective as a designer, I'd really kind of picked up on within the luxury lingerie industry specifically that we weren't really filling the gap for designs that were specifically targeting women. And offering more than just being beautiful. They were also comfortable, and they were wearable and practical. So this was very much the starting point for Coutille, and kind of the direction I still want to take the brand. So I kind of developed the kind of practical reason behind the collection and kind of the problems I wanted to solve before I even started to consider the aesthetics and the design standpoint. So the first capsule we've launched is called Better Than Nude, and I specifically wanted to target nude lingerie, which is usually they're usually so ugly, to be honest, and beige, and just not very pretty, and actually change that around and make pieces that are still practical and still comfortable to wear all day, but they're also in the most beautiful embroidery and they make you feel amazing. So that's kind of where I've started and where I intend to keep moving with it.
So how many colors of nude do you have now in your collection?
So we've launched with 3, and we currently have stock in the first shade, which is oat. And hopefully we'll be bringing in amaranth, which is actually the darkest of the 3, and then biscotti sits in the middle, which is kind of a honey tone. And they're actually developed to be kind of beautiful shades and beautiful colors in their own right. So equally, like, I love the amaranth, and I can't wait to have those pieces because it looks beautiful against all skin tones. So it's very much a sense of, you know, you can wear whatever you like. It's not assigned that this is your shade or anything like that. So yeah.
Oh, I like that. It's very it's new look, very new, interesting, fresh look at nude.
Yeah, because I think there are a lot of brands now, finally, which is a good thing, that are offering a lot of different shades in nude. But I don't know, they always kind of still look a little bit dull, and it's just yeah, I think equally natural tones are the most wearable. So it's nice to have that interchangeable kind of aspect where you can just choose whatever you like and wherever your kind of tastes take you. So yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. So do you consider yourself an entrepreneur, and what advice would you give to young indie designers that are just launching their lingerie labels? What should they be aware of, and what should they strive for?
Yeah, it's difficult. I guess in terms of, if you look up the definition of an entrepreneur, I maybe kind of tick that box, but when I really think about it, I think I still call myself a designer more than I call myself an entrepreneur. And I think we're kind of taught to see an entrepreneur as this very successful figure running like a multi-million pound or billion pound, empire. But really, when I think about it, I think being an entrepreneur is very much it's more of a mindset, and I think it's about resourcefulness, and it's about a confidence that you're willing to 100% back whatever it is that you're selling or you're doing, or whatever your role is. And so I guess in that sense, then yes, I would say that I tick that box. And I think for anybody that's on the beginning of the journey of starting their own business, I think there are a few kind of important points, and the first being, I think you just have to really, really know your market inside out. And for me, I'd obviously had that experience from the design perspective, so I already felt like I knew the customer very well and knew the market very well. But I think if you go in cold, then that could be a huge weakness. So you have to really know the market and equally know where is there a gap, where is there a spot that you could fill that nobody is currently filling. And that's more important than anything else right now, because there are literally brands popping up every single day on social media, and pretty much anyone nowadays can start their own brand. But I think unless you're genuinely offering something that is unique, then it's you're going to be fighting against the masses. So I'd say that's probably the first point. And then I'd say trialing the idea, so trying to trial your concept without putting a lot of money behind it is also really important. And I kind of thought about this because I think I'd heard that advice along the way, and it's what I've tried to do when I've launched Coutille. And it's that basically you launch your idea in the simplest possible form. And if you could get away with just doing your samples and launch it off the samples, and then maybe you launch pre-order, or you just start to generate that interest before you've even put any money behind it, or however, it could go into the thousands very easily. I think that's also really important, because you can get an idea of whether people are actually going to buy it, or whether they're actually interested. So I'd say those are the two most important things. And like I mentioned earlier on, I think also experience, and if you can get some kind of experience within that market or that product area before you kind of launch into it, that it goes a really long way. When things start to get a little bit tough, you don't feel so out of your depth. So yeah.
What a fantastic advice. Oh my God. And so how did you start that your first phase, when you were trying to figure out what your customers are looking for, or if you have a saleable product?
Yeah.
How did this go?
So there were several levels. So I did a lot of online research, And at this point, so I started developing the collection end of 2019. So this was at the point where brands like Skims hadn't quite launched or were just about to launch. There still wasn't any diversity in the nude lingerie sector at that point. So from that online research, I'd already established there was a niche here. And then also going into stores and seeing what is available, you know, what products are actually out there. And then I actually put together a questionnaire, like an online survey, where I was just testing, you know, what do women choose mostly for themselves? What colors do they choose you know, out of nudes or fancy colors, and, you know, and what do they go for? And equally, kind of how much are they willing to spend? And just, I got enough kind of intel from that. And I think there are about 100 people that answered that. Ideally, I would have needed a lot more, but just to get a cross section was enough to kind of establish, okay, there's a potential here. So there's something to go on. And yeah, I mean, starting out, I backed the concept of creating something, like a nude collection. And at first I was thinking, I'm going to do 10 different shades and I'm going to have 20 different designs. And it was crazy, because once you started stripping it back, you realized how much that was going to cost. So then this is why I kind of worked on bringing it down to a capsule and really kind of focusing on those designs and really making them pieces that are filling a demand, and equally getting, you know, bringing it down to 3 shades. So I was just narrowing down the product to the simplest kind of form. And on that basis now, since we've started selling, I can kind of see already which designs are selling better and which colors people are more interested in. Because we did 2 out of the 3 colors on a register your interest option when we launched. So that meant that people could buy our oat shade, but they could also let us know if they were already interested in the other colors before we've launched them. So all of this is really, really valuable to actually know, is there a demand for the product or not? And starting out, you know, when budget is everything, and I very much kind of bootstrap the business. This is how I've been able to actually make it this far, I guess.
This is great. Oh my God, another fantastic advice. And so you used social media to create that survey and retrieve the information?
No, I used one of the kind of online survey platforms, and then I actually I put it out to friends and friends of friends, and just asked anybody I knew to pass it on. And I think I put it out on Facebook as well, and it just spread by word of mouth. So yeah, I mean, you only need to know a few people, and then you enter into their kind of circle of friends. So I think it's just getting it out there.
What, in your opinion, creates value in lingerie? Is it feeling, fit, the aesthetics? And do you have your North Star checklist when it comes to creating?
Yes, I do. So I very early on, when I was kind of brainstorming what I wanted the product to be, I created this this kind of list that I needed to follow to tick all the boxes. Every product had to kind of go by these rules, and they were the 4 Fs. So the first of these is feel, which for me is the most important. Is how the garment feels when you put it on, how it makes you feel. You know, if you feel good in something, that's, you know, that product has done what it's supposed to do. So feel for me was number 1. Fit is number 2. So this goes hand in hand with feel, because something needs to fit perfectly to make you feel good in it. And so it's really important that, you know, we went through, in some of the styles, almost 8 fitting stages to make sure that the fit was as good as it could possibly be. And this is always hard with lingerie, because with different body shapes, sometimes it will fit someone perfectly and it might not fit somebody else perfectly. But ultimately, you know, putting the time into actually trying to make it as good as it possibly can be is really important. Where am I on? The 3 was fabrication. So investing in the fabrics that go into the makeup of the garment, which a lot of customers might not think about. They might just see something and they like it, which is great. But ultimately really investing in, you know, the softest fabrics, the most beautiful embroidery, and you know, making sure that it meets all the quality standards, and it's sustainable, and you know, all of these things are important. And the last of the four is finesse, which comes in hand with design finesse and actually creating a product that is different and you know visionary and offering something different that people can't get from elsewhere. So that's very much kind of the backbone of the first collection and the of Coutille going forwards.
Thank you. Well, one of the very appealing parts of your designs is an embroidery on your garments, which is absolutely exquisite. And I kind of know already that you work with very special suppliers that are dear to your heart. If you can tell us a little more about it.
Happily. So we work with Broderies Laveau, who are one of the very few remaining French embroidery houses. So they're based in kind of Nord-Pas-de-Calais, which is kind of northernest region of France. And it's now run by Benjamin, who is the fourth generation in the business. So it was founded by his great grandfather in, I think, kind of around the 1930s. And they're the most wonderful family, and the company is just incredible, and everybody who works there is an artisan, and has a very important role in every stage of the development of these embroideries. So when I started out with the collection, I actually went over there and scoured all of the archives they have there, which are just stacked with these gigantic, huge books filled with embroideries from the last century, and picked out a very particular little trim, and then I actually resketched that, and with Ben we redeveloped that into the embroidery that's now in the designs. So it has this whole story to it, and the fact that it's tied to something from the past for me just makes it so much more valuable. And it's everything. I felt also a responsibility to try and tell that story as well, so that people understand that it's more than an embroidery, and you know who actually created it. And a lot of brands don't do this, and I don't really understand why, because it's a collaborative effort. The embroidery in itself is like an art form, and I've just put it into one of my designs, but ultimately it's all we're all creating something that comes in that realizes the end product.
This is so true. Yeah, and I just love your very you think about lingerie as a collective. You avoid secrets, or you don't hide anything. And this is so noble and so helpful, and thank you so much for that.
No, I think it's really important, because I think this is how we're going to make the industry survive, and especially these kind of heritage parts of the industry, like embroideries and laces and all of this kind of side of the business. Because things are becoming more challenging. A lot more businesses are manufacturing in Asia, and or they're using different types of fabrics. They're moving away from older, more rigid kind of fabrics and embroideries and things like that. So I think being able to tell that story now, and for it not to be just about the brand, but also to be about the craftspeople and the other skills that have gone into the making of that product, I think that's the only way we can actually get customers to understand and respect why they're paying so much for a product and who has made it. So I think we should just be working together. That's the only way it's gonna happen.
I agree. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Do you feel more responsible now as a creator and a designer, like living in 21st century?
I can speak for myself and say yes. I don't know what the perspective would have been for a designer 50, 60 years ago, but I think with the internet and everything now, obviously we have this constant awareness of what is going on in the world, and ultimately, as a brand, you have to be responsible for how your products are being produced, who is making them, how they're being sold, how they're being sent to the customer. You know, we have to take all of that into account. So I mean, from the design perspective, I guess we're only impacted in terms of kind of fabric selection, but from the business perspective, even though I'm only just starting out with Coutille, I was very much aware that from the beginning I had to get this right, and we had to be manufacturing in a way that was sustainable, and there was also no question of it. You know, I wouldn't have considered otherwise. So it's a big responsibility, and we're up against so many huge brands, and you know, these big companies that are producing in products in their thousands, and it's very challenging when, you know, they can just bring out one collection that's a conscious collection or uses a recycled kind of fabric, and it's enough to be like, okay, they're making steps to be sustainable, when actually there's so many small independent brands that are creating a whole business model that is making sure that it's working sustainably. So we've just got to try and shout louder and hold those other companies to account, so that they have to act on it as well.
Absolutely. So in your opinion, what do lingerie lovers look for in luxury lingerie today? And do you see progress or change in how millennials and Gen Zers look at luxury lingerie?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I think I've kind of realized, I think it's a more specific customer that goes for luxury lingerie. And that doesn't necessarily correlate with somebody who likes luxury clothes and luxury outerwear. I think, you know, it can be the complete opposite. But I think ultimately somebody that likes to buy more expensive underwear or kind of invest in their underwear obviously looks for the quality and looks for the finesse that comes with a luxury product. And I think that also pairs up with finding a design that is striking and it's different. So all of those aspects ties into why you know, a luxury customer wants to buy that kind of product. And then looking at kind of the next generation, I think we're seeing a change here, purely because there are so many brands that can produce products and sell it at such a low price and in volumes, and there is just this constant kind of on social media, obviously there is this constant feed of new product, new designs all the time. So I still very much believe there's a place for luxury lingerie with this next generation, but it's a slightly different outlook, and it's for, you know, the next generation of consumer who is thinking already about making conscious choices in terms of buying products that are made sustainably, and therefore they're willing to pay a higher cost to ensure that that garment has been produced to meet, you know, ethical standards. So there's a lot more kind of depth to that kind of product choice and that decision. So it's definitely a changing time for the industry, and it's very complicated. But I think, you know, this kind of product, these kind of beautiful embroideries and laces, they've been around for centuries, so I don't think they're going anywhere soon. It's just kind of a case of staying true and also trying to innovate in terms of design and looking to serve that next generation in terms of what they're looking for, and softer shapes, maybe less wiring, less corsetry, but, you know, just different ways of innovating. So that's where the designer comes in.
Absolutely. Do you consider yourself to be an innovator?
I hope so. I very much hope so. I think with the first capsule, I wanted to kind of have a kind of nostalgic sense within the designs, but at the same time offer something that was new. So like our bustini is based on your kind of 1950s bustier, but it has this amazing scoop back, which makes it so practical for dresses that have low backs, and at the same time I used really soft fabrics. We used an Italian jersey, which is really breathable, and the elastics are these very soft Spanish elastics, which again are just very kind of comfortable and soft. So instead of it feeling like rigid, old-fashioned corsetry, it's a beautiful kind of breathable garment, but it's kind of mirrored and mirroring those kind of vintage designs. So yes, I think I would consider myself an innovator.
Wonderful. So what special styles, what are your favorite styles in your collection, and what problems are you solving for your customers?
Yeah, so I think one of my favorites is our slipper bra, which was kind of my take on the soft bra, and instead of it being a triangle bra, which is what you kind of widely see as a soft bra option, it has a bit more kind of form to it, and it has this kind of functionality where you can kind of adjust the center front and you can switch the straps at the back, so it can actually be worn 6 different ways, which is great.
Wow.
And you can wear it cross back and halter neck and all sorts of things, so it's really practical, but obviously it's in the beautiful embroidery and it's just a really unique design. So I'd say that's probably one of my favorites. And we have the clam bra, which is a soft cup take on a strapless bra. So instead of having all the kind of padding and infrastructure you see in a soft bra, it's just a little bit kind of more refined and delicate. And I think my final favorite is the slipette, which again is based on the kind of vintage classic half slip, but it's in the soft jersey and embroidery, and it's just a little bit prettier. So, you know, in the spring summer when your dresses are always a little bit too sheer, it's the perfect thing to throw on underneath and just forget you're wearing it.
Yeah, oh my God, that's amazing, because slips are in trend. They will be trending the next few years, and it's such a fantastic thing, because you brought back a very old style, but it was very elegant style as well. And it's not just feels good on the body, but it also makes clothes look better on the outside, so it works both ways. Oh, fantastic. Exactly. And by the way you describe your collection, I feel like it has application in bridal wear, correct?
Yes,
it's like low back and strapless, and I love your versatility, the way you describe your bra with 6 different ways to wear. It's perfect. It's what women are looking for. It's multifunctional aspect of lingerie, and they can buy one and wear it for different occasions.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you're completely right. I think a lot of customers I've had recently are kind of brides to be, and they're looking for the functionality in underwear, but obviously they still want to wear something beautiful because it's their wedding day. So the strapless, the clam bra, the strapless bra, and the bustini with the low back have both been really popular for brides. And I think it just underlines again that we're moving away from old-fashioned kind of views on lingerie in terms of bridal lingerie as well, because also nude in itself has become more popular with brides, and they're kind of moving away from having ivory bridal lingerie which shows up under everything, and actually looking for something more practical. So yeah, it's just meeting the demands of women instead of kind of this old-fashioned view of what we're looking for.
Right. So in our previous conversation, you mentioned that your collection is your baby, and I'm sure many designers feel like that. So what would you like the world to be for your collection to flourish in it?
I think we need to, it goes back to what I was saying about trying to educate the consumer, and really kind of build this knowledge base, so that people understand why something, why they should be spending more on something. And I think that's on the brand to actually put the knowledge out there and say, this is how our product is made, this is who makes it, and this is what you're investing in. And I think we're not quite there yet. There's obviously a lot of companies that are doing extremely well and their products are mass produced, and you know, the quality is questionable, but ultimately they're selling. So right now that kind of goes against what I'm trying to put out there and what my collection is trying to do. So I think there's still a long way to go in actually shifting that mindset. But I think that for me, that's probably the most important thing in trying to actually make this, you know, make my collection successful. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. The mindset shift is absolutely needed. And
yeah, it is.
so where can customers find your collection?
So we are online at coutille.com. That's our main website. And we're also doing pop-ups. So we have a pop-up at the moment in Time, which is in the Cotswolds, and a second one in Cheltenham. But we're also looking to do more pop-ups this year. So we'll hopefully have one in London later on this year, and hopefully many more to come. So yeah, but you can find us online at the moment.
Absolutely. And I always ask this question. So what is the most memorable piece of lingerie that maybe is from your childhood, or maybe something that you saw that inspired you to become a lingerie designer? So what is it?
Well, my grandma always, I don't remember this actually, but my grandma always told me a story of, my grandma's Maltese, and so we used to go visit her in Malta, and she'd have this old fashioned sewing machine in the corner of her bedroom. And I would go and sit there and raid the sewing machine and raid all the fabrics. And supposedly I made my sister a bra when I was about 5-6 years old. And I don't remember this at all, but she does. But I guess in terms of how, going as far back as I can remember, for me, Alexander McQueen was a huge influence. And there was an exhibition at the V&A, Savage Beauty, which must have been about 15 years ago now. And I could see kind of firsthand just the most incredible corsets that were built into his dresses. And yeah, it was mind-blowing for me, and just the detail and the way that the fabrics were manipulated and everything. It was also the way that the corsets became the structure to the dress that made me so excited more than anything else. So I think that very much kind of started my initial interest in lingerie.
Yes, I remember. I was also immensely inspired by Alexander McQueen. He is just tremendous designer. Yeah.
I mean, to this day, those designs that were created by him, they haven't dated, because they've just become like art. So it's, I mean, it was groundbreaking.
Yes, you're right. He may be a more of an artist, even than a designer. I agree.
Yeah, I think so.
So where are you taking Coutille in the future?
Oh, so many places, I hope. For now, I'm focusing on this current collection. And like I said, we're hoping to do many more pop-ups and actually give people a chance to physically be able to see our products and try them on. I'm also working on a new collection, which hopefully we will be launching kind of in the autumn this year. And hopefully we might start bringing in a few other product ranges around lingerie as well. So there's lots of exciting things planned, but it's just, we're just moving forwards and one step at a time.
I love it. One step at a time. That's exactly what everybody should do, really, in achieving their goals. So what do you feel your legacy should be as a designer and as a creator? What would you like it to be?
Oh, it's so hard. I guess it would be being the designer that has been able to kind of re-establish and reintroduce craftsmanship and quality in lingerie for the next era and for the next generation. I think if I can manage to achieve that, then I feel like I've done what I wanted to do. So yeah.
Wow, thank you. That's amazing goal. That's yes, designers should strive for. It's really fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time and wonderful insights. It was a very transformative conversation, and I'm sure many designers, young designers, established designers can benefit from it. And I'm sure customers will look for your collection in the future. And I'm wishing you so much success and yeah, you know,
thank you
to
so
thrive
much.
and create.
No, and thank you so much, Asi, and thank you for creating this platform for designers like me to be able to kind of actually talk about our vision and what we're trying to do. I know it's really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. Comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to see more videos from the Intimate Talk series. Thank you so much for watching. Happy creating.